and black.
Yeah, Herc, and moving on, it turns out, I don't know if this was in the last 48 hours or the last 24 hours, there was a guy that murdered 8 people, 8 different people in suburban Chicago, and then ended up somehow in Texas. And the marshals and all the, he ended up killing himself instead of turning himself in. Um, yeah, I want to see what's going on with that and let you take a peek at that real quick. Here's the story right here.
Another breaking news update. We are waiting to hear from police in the murders of 8 people in Joliet. Police say the suspect shot and killed himself in Texas after a manhunt by multiple law enforcement agencies. CBS 2's Mugo Adigwe has new details.
Joliet police say they might give us an update about this case sometime today. We're still waiting to hear more from them, but we know this case involves 3 different locations and happened over a span of 2 days in Joliet. As you mentioned, that suspect was found dead 1,200 miles away in Texas last night. According to Joliet police, the investigation started on Sunday night after 2 separate shootings, one of those shootings deadly. The common link, a red Toyota Camry. The car was registered to the suspect, 23-year-old Romeo Nance. Deputies traced the registration to a home on the 2200 block of West Acres Road. They set up surveillance in the area in case Nance came back. But on Monday, investigators made a horrific discovery. 2 people were found dead inside a house on Acres Road, and across the street where police say relatives of those 2 victims lived, 5 more people were also found shot to death. Investigators still haven't said if those are Nance's family members, only that they are known to Nance. Now, around 8:30 yesterday evening, Joliet police learned Nance had been spotted by U.S. Marshals in Natalia, Texas, about 30 miles southwest of San Antonio. He was found in a car at this Valero gas station. Here's how authorities describe what happened next.
Called, and how we got into this was a possible pursuit coming out of Bexar County, and it ended up here. And at this location, the suspect of multiple homicides was basically cornered, and at some point in there, he took his own life. So that's kind of where we're at now.
Police in Texas wouldn't say if there was any exchange of gunfire, but again, we are waiting to see if Joliet police will have an update on this case for us sometime today. We'll keep you updated.
Holy Herc. So he clips 2 people, goes across the street, and finishes off the entire family. 8 people in total.
Yeah, man, you got to wonder, like, dude, across the street, how do he pick these people, man?
This I'm guy, wondering, man, go ahead.
He had to have some type of connection with him, don't you think?
That's what I was going to say. It's usually over a woman. When men snap this way, it's usually over a romantic situation, right?
Well, yeah, because you got to think about it. Why would he randomly just go to one house and then go to another house across the street? I mean, dude, that's crazy, man. I mean, and then the other 2 people he killed were in another area, and then he, like they said, he drove to that area, and then he drove all the way to Texas. So obviously, this guy was on some type of suicide mission, man.
And he was going to wipe out the whole family because they're all related, right? Is what they said.
It had to be. I mean, we're not getting any other details, but that's the only logical, like you said, to go from one house to across the street to pick out another random house. I mean, dude.
And those people are related. They're family members. They said that they were family. They were all family. All the victims are family.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. Then
you know what I mean? It sounds like he just wiped the whole family out, bro.
Yeah. This is a prime example of these young men out here, man, who are just so emotional, over whatever situation. And they just, take to violence, man. It's like they have no coping skills, lack of coping skills, man. Lack of, dealing with controversy or issues. These a lot of these young guys, man, that's all I can say. Cause the need for violence and murder like this, man, it's uncalled for.
And when we talk about, when the liberals talk about taking our guns, and they talk about how we are leading the world in, in nonsensical murders with firearms. To me, it's not a gun issue. It's a mental health crisis. And like you said, these young men have no coping skills. They're out here in the world where violence and sex and all this nasty stuff is pushed down their throat, and they're not working, they're not doing anything productive. And when they lose a woman or they get emotional, this is how they react. And this is what kills me the most. They're not going to sit there and face their time in court or try to get help or
Oh, no.
or realize what's going on. They're gonna take the easy way out after that.
Yeah. You're absolutely right, man. And when you talk about protecting your family, dude, I'm not trying to do karate with a guy with a gun.
No,
I mean, you,
no.
you want to be able to protect your family in the right way. And it shows you that it doesn't really make a difference when you talk about guns, because you can go to England right now and you see how many knifings they have out there. They're stabbing the shit out of people. People
Stabbing
getting
the shit out of
stabbed,
people.
man, left and right,
And that's
left
why I
and
said
right.
it's a mental health crisis. It's not a
Yeah,
gun
yeah.
crisis. There's
No, has nothing to do with
Americans are violent and crazy.
it's a like you said, it's not just isolated here. If we start looking at all these other places, I've talked to people all over the world about violence, and it's not just here. It's like you said, social it's a social condition based on the exposure. I believe the violence, lack of father figures,
Mhm.
the overstimulation of like sexual content. There's a lot of things
Yes.
that are creating
Yes.
these type of individuals.
Yeah, I agree 110%, and that's what it is. It's the no coping skills, it's the social media, it's the sex, and as a young man, I can tell you, when I split with my ex, it just was the end of the world. And to think about her out there just all over social media naked and doing all this crazy stuff that's normalized now, I was getting in my head. But luckily, I was able to start working out, and I had, I'm from a different generation. I'm not 23, I'm 33. So we were
Yeah,
taught some coping skills. I feel like I'm the last of my generation was the last one that can still be normal. These kids have nothing anymore. They're not playing sports, they're not going outside, and before we know it, these guys are young men and they're 23 years old running around with guns, wiping out entire families.
yeah, you're right. I mean, fast forward, man, what is it going to look like 10, 20 years from now?
I don't want to know. It scares me, dude.
Dude, it is scary. It's scary when I think about these young men and just the inability to handle regular everyday issues at work.
Regular stress.
Regular. I mean, work, school. Just in general, man. It's pretty, man. It's pretty scary, man.
And last thing I'll say about it, like you said, unfortunately, being a man, it's one of the most loneliest things that you can be. No one's gonna feel bad for you. If you start a family and your family is homeless, or you lose your job and your wife leaves you and takes your kids, you still have to provide. You still have to wake up every day, shoulder that load, and be strong, and understand no one's going to clap you, no one's going to pat you on the back, no one's going to care. And like you said, these kids just don't have this. They don't have the heart to carry that type of pressure. And like you said, I think it's the father thing, because for me, my father wasn't really in my life, but what I did learn from him was, listen, I had to restart my life 3 times. I had to restart my life at 48 years old. I went to college at 48 years old. I was cleaning trash cans at 48, making less than minimum wage. But guess what? I got a new house again. I'm 55 with a new house. That's all he ever taught me. I've restarted 3, 4 times in my life, been divorced, lost everything. Women are going to cheat. People are going to run off on you. No one cares. Man up. And that
That's
always
right.
stuck with me.
That's right. You can't be a
But
victim,
yeah.
bro. At the end of the
No.
day, you can't be a victim, and you got to have some accountability. So I don't want to hear the sob stories, excuses. At the end of the day, if you're healthy, you're not confined to a bed, or you
Right.
can't move around, and you can actually, God blessed you with the ability to be healthy. No excuses.
No excuses. Yeah, man. And this is why we need more programs for these kids, man. This is why I want to start boxing programs and really start getting back into the youth. You know what I mean? Because we got to have somebody that's putting these thoughts in these kids' heads. That way, when they are 23 and they go through their first divorce or their first breakup, or something happens, they lose custody of their kids, whatever, they lose their job, they got to have our men like me and you. We got to talk to these kids. We got to put stuff in the back of their brain for when they're under this pressure, so that they don't snap like this young man did. But
no, I totally agree.
I cannot believe this.
No jobs, no blowjobs. My past life caused cash pops, man. I can't believe this.
Can you believe this?